lesson, we went ahead and wrote the code to read from our file. So if I open up our test.txt, we have Bob, Mary, Todd, and Alice in our text file. And if I run our read program, you'll see that it'll actually print it out. Bob, Mary, Todd, and Alice. So Todd and Alice are printing out on individual lines because the way we read in reads word by word. But let's go ahead and add another name to our file. So I'm going to go ahead and go above my read file and create another public void, and we're going to call it WriteFile. And we're going to do kind of the same thing. We're going to connect to a file and we're going to add some information in rather than read it back out. So to read it in, we are going to create a buffered, this is an object, so capital buffered writer. We're going to try to write to it, and we'll call this buffered writer, BW, and that's going to equal new buffered writer. And we are going to connect to a new file writer. And that new file writer is going to have to tell it the name of our file, which is test.txt. And we don't want to clobber it. We don't want to remove everything in there. So we want to append, which is going to be a true statement. So we're going to go ahead and append that part. And I apologize. Let me go ahead and see if I can minimize this and get it all to fit in there. Not quite. It's a long file there. You can see what's going on in the pieces of it. So let's go ahead and do our imports. So Java IO for buffered writer, and looks like I missed an R on buffered writer over there. That fixes that. And then file writer is also a Java IO. We'll go ahead and pick that one, and that cleans up everything else. But guess what's going to happen? We have to wrap it in a try catch because there's a possibility that that file doesn't exist or I can't write to it. So we're going to add our try. We're going to try to connect to it, and if not, we're going to print out our error. Okay, so now that we have our file open to append information, which means write additional information, we can now take that buffered writer, that BW, and we can add a new line. Go ahead and add a new line. And then we can go ahead and take that buffered writer and we can write, and let's see, what kind of name do we want to add in here? So we'll call it Johnny. We're going to write Johnny to our file. And then we are going to take our buffered writer and we are going to close our connection. So that's going to take the information and write it. Oh, don't forget my semicolon there. Okay, so that should write Johnny to the bottom of our file. So let's see what happens here now. We're going to have to call our file. So I'm going to go ahead and take our S object we create and call WriteFile. And then right after that, I'm going to go ahead and read file again to see if that information got added back into our file. So we're going to read it. We're going to write some information to it, and we're going to read it right back to see if it worked correctly. So let's go ahead and run this. So first thing that happened is we have Bob, Mary, Todd, and Alice. That all worked correctly. Then we went ahead and added Johnny, and there's our Bob, Mary, Todd, Alice, and then Johnny got added at the end. So everything's good. Now if I run this again, Johnny's already in that text file. Unlike Java code, when we write in the code, everything resets every time we run it. This is actually going to put Johnny in again at the bottom because we read the file. There's our first read, Mary, Todd, Bob, Mary, Todd, Alice, and Johnny from the first original file. Then we write Johnny back in there and we rewrite it again. And if I run it again, it's going to keep adding Johnny to the bottom because don't erase it. That text file is not persistent with the actual class. It's actually persistent well beyond the class running. So that text file has a little longer lifespan, actually a lot longer lifespan. So that's writing to the file. So now you know how to read and write from a file.